It's finally Prime Day 2024. There's some really good deals. Actually kind of surprising because the last few years the deals have been kind of whatever. If you're looking for specific categories, check the timestamps because I have them organized. For all of these deals, you will need an Amazon Prime subscription, but if you don't have one already, I'll have a link in the description to a 30-day free trial. It's an affiliate link, but if you use that, then you can get access to these deals. If you don't like Prime, you don't have to keep it. But I've been using Prime myself for a few years now. It's pretty good. Now let's get right into the deals. If you go to the home page of Amazon, you'll go click Prime Day, and then it'll bring you to this little hub for you, shop all deals, lightning deals. Now, as I get into these lightning deals, let me go ahead and say that every deal that I'm going to put, I'm actually going to have this capture of Amazon's website. I don't normally do this because it'll show the specific prices, but the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make it clear that these prices are subject to change because, of course, as this is lightning deal, these only last for a certain period of time. There's 26% claimed here, 50% claimed here. So all of these deals can change. So don't just look at whatever product that I'm highlighting and go, oh, this costs like $30. Let me go buy it right now without actually checking the price. Click the link in the description. I have links to everything in the description. We'll start off with headsets, but actually right before headsets, this is the graphics card that I am currently using. This is the 7900 XTX from AMD, 24 gigs of RAM. Basically, as far as performance, it's like a 4080 Super, a little bit stronger than that in rasterization, but it's not nearly as good in ray tracing. But with this graphics card, I play every single game, 4K, 60 frames per second, HDR, max settings, everything just, settings, max, ultra, everything, whatever I can get. But yeah, if you're going to be streaming and you're doing a one PC setup, then having a really strong CPU, really strong GPU is very important. So let's start off with headsets. This is the HyperX Cloud III wireless. This wasn't even out last Prime Day. And this is actually what I'm wearing right now. It is the headset that I use the most. It's extremely comfortable. It's like the Cloud 3, but of course, just the wireless version, but it does make it a little bit heavier, most likely because of the battery. I also have this on my desk. This is the Astro A50X. I actually like the sound of this a little bit better just for the bass, but unfortunately the A50X is actually not on sale today. I really wish that it was. But I actually do find the HyperX Cloud III wireless to be a little bit more comfortable. It's got a detachable microphone right here. The microphone audio quality is actually quite good. Top 3 as far as microphone audio quality. Now it's not on a major sale, only 20% off. Still pretty decent, very similar to the Cloud 2, except that the bass isn't quite as strong out the box. Also, the treble is not as harsh either, so it's kind of like more of like mid-range focus, upper mid-range focus too, but it's not going to be that super sharp treble. This is the wired version of the Cloud 3. This actually came out, as you can see, for $100, so this is 30% off. Next, we have the Arctis Nova 7. This is a lot harsher, a lot like more shrill sound. But if you're into FPS games specifically and you really want that maximum amount of detail, but like really like subdued bass, then the Nova 7 is really good option for you. Personally, I just like the Cloud 3 better than this thing. This is the Nova 3 and this is the wired version. I actually find that this is a lot better of a deal because the sound isn't that crazy off from the Nova 7. Honestly, the Nova 3 and the Nova 7 pretty much sound the same. They both sound a little bit better than the Nova 1 because the Nova 1's using a 3.5mm connection, and since this is using USB, it's got that little bit of extra power going here. But I think this is a great deal. If you're looking for a SteelSeries OS, I think this is actually the best like actual deal as far as how much you're getting for how much you're paying. Razer BlackShark V2 X, this goes on sale a lot, $35. It's really hard to beat for that price. The only thing that's really better would be like the HyperX Cloud Core and stuff like that. I do find that to be better. It's kind of hard to find that exact model because there's so many variations of Cloud Core. I don't know why, but I've reviewed this thing. It's not my favorite headset, but it's really good for the price. There's a non-detachable cable here, 3.5mm, and non-detachable mic, so that is kind of annoying, but this is the HyperX Cloud II. This is just crazy deal now. It's only $50 that you can find it here. Now, I personally think if you're going to get the Cloud 2, you might as well get the Cloud 3 and then do a little bit of EQ to get it to sound a little bit closer to this, however you like it. Maybe add a little bit more bass to the Cloud 3, and then you can boost up the treble a little bit if you want to. I just think that the Cloud 3 is capable of getting very close to the Cloud 2's sound, but at the same time, it's not quite as harsh, but it's a little bit more comfortable. But if you just like the Cloud 2, you're just like, I love the Cloud 2. Cloud 2 is the best thing ever. It's only $50 right now. I've heard people say, oh, you got to get the Kingston version. Some people say, oh, you got to get the HyperX, or you got to get the HP version. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I could not tell the difference between the sound quality, but you can see that the new one is a little bit, I wouldn't say it's cheaper as far as the build, because it still has that aluminum. It's still really sturdy, really durable, but this part right here, it's not it does seem like some cheaper plastic. It doesn't have as much detail. There's not as much detail just in general on like the stitching and all the things like that. But overall, same headset, Kingston or with HP. Now, if you're into IEMs, I don't have a ton. Honestly, I only got a sample size of one. But this is the 02. I actually have these. I've reviewed these. I've reviewed basically every single thing that I'm talking about today. But anyway, the bass is quite good on these. And you know me, I'm a bass head. And there's a lot of audiophile type stuff that I specifically avoid because I know, oh, these are going to be like not even just a stereo sound, but they're going to be very, very muted in the bass, then very strong on the treble, the upper mid range. That's just not the type of sound for me. I know it's the sound for a lot of people, but if I'm going to be buying it and I'm going to be using it, I want something that's the sound that I like. Now you can make these sound pretty clear, make them sound very detailed and a little bit more open. They're always going to sound a little bit close in with the sound stage just because of like the actual way that these fit into your ear. But I play Call of Duty Warzone with these. I was able to get some dubs. But I think that they actually shine even more in other games like horror games or like racing games or anything that there's going to be a lot of different clashing sounds, and especially stuff with some really good bass, some really deep thumping bass. Man, these things, I really like these. They're not quite as like heavy as like the A50X as far as like how much bass that they can put out, but it's very clean bass. It's something that is not like really muffled. They did a great job. One thing I will say though is the wire. I don't remember exactly how long it is because I talked about it in my review, but this wire is not very long at all. So it can get snagged, and if you snag it, it's just, that's actually the reason that I don't really use these anymore because the wires are so short. So getting it over to my Wave XLR, it's like the full length of this, like here all the way to my mixer. It's too far. But for 20 bucks, especially on this deal, I can't really complain. This is the Corsair Virtuoso Pro open back headset. Now this is one device that I do not have. Very interested in checking it out. Actually might go ahead and pick it up right now, honestly. So I can't really say too much about it because I don't have it, but this is an amazing deal, 30% off. I think that the $200 launch price, that's honestly the reason that I never actually picked it up. Just let you know that this is on sale for Prime Day. Now, some stuff that I really do wish was on sale is like the Astro A50X, the Odyssey Maxwell, and I didn't see either of those on sale, but this, the Logitech G Pro X2, as you can see, I got the black version. This is a Prime Day deal for 200 bucks, and I really like this headphone audio quality of this. The microphone, man, is pretty terrible, but overall, I do like the sound of this significantly better than the HyperX Cloud III wired and wireless. I think those graphene drivers are really good. I think the bass is really good on this. It's not quite as comfortable as the HyperX Cloud II or the Cloud 3, and the mic just sucks so bad. I think that holds it back. But the fact that it's wireless, it has Bluetooth and like real Bluetooth, not like the A50X Bluetooth where you can just take it out on the go. And the graphene drivers, they've got some really nice detail, but a little bit of boom in that bass as well if you really need it and you EQ it right. I like this. Now, I don't know if this is that great of a deal because $50 off, but it was 250 bucks. It's pretty good, pretty good. Now let's move on to webcams. Unfortunately, the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra still full price from what I saw. This is the Razer Kiyo, the original. It used to be like $100 when it first came out. It's only $50 right now, so half off of its normal price, but you do see this on sale quite a bit. It's pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to really complain about it for the price, but you know, it is quite old and it's showing its age, so it's not amazing image quality. But for $50, it's significantly better than like the Logitech C920 in a lot of areas. The Razer Kiyo Pro, I think this is a much better deal as far as how much it used to cost, 100 bucks. Now it's $83.59, very specific price. But I like this webcam. I think that it had, in 2020 when it first came out, it was really near the top, like the top 3 webcams on the market, up there with like the Logitech Brio. But webcams have gotten a lot better since then, so the price went down to kind of match that. By the way, the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra is actually the webcam that I'm using right now. So I really wish it was on sale so I could recommend it, but I can't. If you really do want it, I mean, I'll have a link to it in the description, but it's not on sale currently. Go ahead and maybe look on the second day of Prime Day because you might see it on sale though. Now, this is one of the few things that are going to be on this list that I actually don't have. I've only heard about it. I've only talked about it. It's something that I do plan on reviewing. I might even buy this specifically to review and compare to the OBSBOT Tiny 2 because I have the OBSBOT Tiny 2. This is the OBSBOT Tiny 2 Lite. The sensor is not as big as the OBSBOT Tiny 2, and I've seen side-by-side footage. It's very hard to tell the difference unless somebody already told you. This does tend to, I wouldn't say overexpose, but like kind of artificially brighten up the shot on automatic settings more than the OBSBOT Tiny 2 does. But yeah, I don't want to speak too much about this webcam because I have only seen footage of it. I don't actually own it myself, but it is a 4K webcam and it can do 60 frames per second, but only at 1080p. And this is the original OBSBOT Tiny 2, barely a sale, $281. I honestly think that this webcam just straight up costs too much money, which is I think probably why they made the OBSBOT Tiny to Lite. I don't know how much the sensor costs. This is over 1.5 inch sensor, so it's actually quite good. It's not amazing, not quite as good as like the Sony ZV-1, but it is actually really good. Now we talked about webcams, let's get into actual cameras. So this is the Sony ZV-1, it's the main camera that I use. I'm not using it right now, I'm actually using the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. This is the main camera that I used to have on my desk. I actually use it for stuff that I film like behind me, behind this green screen. So like a lot of B-roll and stuff like this, if I'm taking pictures of the individual products, I do a ton of stuff with this. I absolutely love this camera. You can utilize it as a webcam and you can do it through USB mode, but I definitely would get a capture card and use it. Very high quality looking image, very smooth image. Then the Sony ZV-1 is just fantastic at it because it has a larger sensor than you're going to find on any webcam. It's 1 inch. You can take it outdoors because, you know, you can actually like put it in your pocket and everything. This is just an amazing camera. It's fantastic. Now, if you are primarily a streamer specifically, you might not want to go that hard, $600. It is way cheaper than it used to be. But let me go over to this next thing. This is the Sony ZV-1F. Now, this is a lot more limited than the Sony ZV-1 because it doesn't actually have the same type of zoom lens that you could zoom in and out. It's like fixed. Same with the aperture, you see it doesn't have that range, it's like fixed. But this is way cheaper than the Sony ZV-1, 400 bucks right now, 20% off. If you want something to primarily use as a webcam, this still works really well. And I actually have some specific experience with this. I can't really like share the footage of this on this channel, but I go to these local tournaments run by a group called Madhouse, and they have 2 Sony ZV-1s and then they have a Sony ZV-1F in the middle, and you really can't tell the difference between the webcams because they look really good. If anything, the Sony ZV-1F's colors are a little bit more vibrant and a little bit better. But I don't have personal experience using this camera. I only have experience using the Sony ZV-1, which I do enjoy quite a lot. Now, I've been using the same lights for pretty much all my content creation for the last 4 years. The Elgato lights, I've got the key light, the ring light, and the key light air. And this right here is the key light, and super big sale because now I know this says that the list price was $160, but when it originally came out, I actually bought my key light for 200 bucks. So this is a really good deal that they have right here. Now the issue with this, now this is the original key light. There's actually a Mark II now, but this one doesn't have any knobs or buttons on it. It just has a thing that like, it's kind of like a power switch, but you can use it to reset the light. But I know the Mark II comes with a remote on it. I don't remember if it actually has any physical knobs or anything, but you can look that up, the key light Mark II. But as you see this over here, you can sync up your lights. Let me see if I can move myself just a little bit, and then I can change the brightness or the color temperature using this app. And you can do it with your phone as well. It's kind of annoying to get these to be synced up. They've been making tweaks over time to make the connectivity better and make this control center better. And it's pretty good now, but it still has issues. But overall, this price is so fantastic that I would personally get 2 key lights, one on one side, one on the other side. I've seen this used at a lot of major events too. I go to a tournament, it's called Guild House in San Jose, and they use the Elgato key light, and these work perfectly for them. They don't even have to turn them up that bright. And if you're playing like in a competition, like a fighting game competition, I play Tekken, you don't want the lights to be super bright and like really distracting you and like blinding you. So they can be turned down pretty low and still have good brightness. And in fact, right now, like you saw, they were only like 20 or 30%, and that's more than bright enough. It's actually overexposing me a little bit, so I could even turn them down a little bit, but I just don't feel like it right now. Next, we have the Elgato Key Light Mini. I feel like this was kind of a miss on Elgato's part, not so much because the light is bad. It's actually fantastic. You can change the brightness and the color temperature over here, power this on and off. It's just that as a streamer, there's not really that much use for this specifically. This is more of something that if you have like an actual camera that you might be interested in, and you're going to be taking it out on the go and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting because if you're going to be taking it out on the go, it's really not bright enough to do a whole lot. If you're in a dark area, yes, but you have to be in a dark enclosed area. It just doesn't really quite line up with Elgato's normal base. But if this is the type of light that you want and you need, if you're going to be recording stuff like in the garage or some sort of other dark area, then this is actually fantastic for this price. Now this is the Logitech G Litra Beam. Now personally, I prefer the Litra Beam LX over this because I had issues with the Bluetooth. Some people have not had any issues with this. Also, this wire here, you probably can't really see with all of this. Okay, this is probably a better one, but this doesn't actually have like a power brick, like one of those AC adapters. So this just plugs into basically like your USB ports in your computer. And that's cool, but the problem with that is you might not get the full power of it because I have a pretty new, strong motherboard. It's one of the X670Es or something like that. But anyway, the point is that I can't get to 100% on this no matter what port I have. I think the highest I can get to is like 75% brightness or something. So to get the maximum brightness, you may or may not get it. And then if you plug it into like a brick or something, like if you happen to have one, then you're going to have to use Bluetooth and hope that the Bluetooth works. So personally, even though this is a decent deal, I would still, if you're going to get one of these, then I would get the RGB version, even if you don't even want to use the RGB. And this is the Litra Beam LX because the Bluetooth worked flawlessly for me. And this is going to make sure that you get the maximum amount of brightness because it comes with a low power brick. Now, with all that said, same price as the Elgato Key Light, so probably might as well just get 2 key lights unless the price changes. Now let's talk about some microphones. This is the HyperX QuadCast S. There's a lot of different variations of the QuadCast. This is really for a stylish looking microphone. It's not necessarily better than other microphones that are a little bit cheaper, but it is a condenser. It's got 3 different polar patterns. I don't know, actually 4 different polar patterns. As you can see on the back here, you're probably only going to need cardioid. In fact, if you get any of these other ones, you're probably going to mess up your audio, which is another story for another time. But this 32% off, really good deal here. But man, the colors are cool. The effects that you can use are cool. And the shock mount's pretty decent too. I think the shock mount on the DuoCast is actually a little bit better, but let's go ahead to the next. This is the Elgato Wave DX. Now this was on sale last year during Prime Day as well, but this is probably, I don't want to say it's just straight up the best deal that you can get, but this is a dynamic microphone, unlike that condenser of the HyperX QuadCast S. The plosive rejection on this is top notch. It's one of the best. It's actually significantly better than this. This is the Shure MV7. As I'm speaking into this, and honestly, probably if you listen to other people speaking to this as well, you'll probably hear the same issues with just occasional plosives. Pops will come in there when they're saying P and B sounds. This really prevents that significantly because there's a little pop filter that's under this, but specifically it's just because of the way that I think the low end is so toned down in this microphone that you don't really hear it to that degree, which is a pro and a con because if you like a full body sound, this doesn't really have it. But yeah, I've utilized this mic with the Elgato Wave XLR, which I'll actually talk about in a little bit. But I love this microphone, dynamic microphone. The only reason I'm using this right now, this is the Shure MV7 right here. It's probably mirrored though. It's because I'm like, man, if I'm paying this much money for this microphone, this costs more than any other microphone that I have. It was like 250 bucks when I got it. I'm like, I'm going to use this microphone, but it's not necessarily better than the Wave DX. I actually like the Wave DX better than the Shure MV7, believe it or not. I know that sounds crazy. I think they can both be EQ'd to sound basically exactly like I want, but the difference is the Wave DX has better plosive rejection. And it has a little bit better background noise rejection than the Shure MV7. So this is a very, very underrated microphone, and it just doesn't have that brand recognition as Shure. So Shure can kind of put out anything, and then they're just going to pop off because it's Shure. This is the HyperX QuadCast, not the S. This one's a little bit cheaper, but you know, you can see this on sale quite a bit. This is the red only. Razer Seiren Mini, this also goes on sale quite a bit. And as you see, man, back in 2020, I got that original one, and that's when they had it in pink. They no longer actually make this pink one anymore. As you see, this is like not even from Razer anymore. So you're going to have to get this black one, but it still looks pretty cool. And the sound quality, it's good for what it costs. I think the HyperX SoloCast sounds a little bit better. I think this one is the next on this list here. Well, not quite the next. SoloCast, 33 bucks right now, 45% off, which is pretty interesting because when it first came out, that was one of the main weaknesses. I wouldn't say weakness of it, but it cost more than the Razer Seiren Mini. But now this thing's really, really good price. The main issue with this thing is just that the shock resistance is like pretty terrible. So if you have it on your desk, I wouldn't recommend having it on your desk. It's gonna pick up all types of shocks. But if you have this even on a boom arm and you're typing on your keyboard, it's gonna pick up all those rumbles. Now this is the TONOR TC777. It's not an amazing microphone. I have two friends that used to stream with this microphone. I never actually streamed with it, but I did do some testing of it. Now that wire that you see here, it's really short. The audio quality, it's okay. It's one of the few microphones I'd say that it sounds cheap. It's like, yeah, okay, I get what you're going for, but it does not sound expensive. It's also pretty irritating to try to put on a boom arm just because of the way that this build is, but it does work, it does function. And not something that I recommend just simply because there's other microphones that are very similar price, as you could see, that I do think sound significantly better. This is the audio interface that I'm using literally right now, the Elgato Wave XLR. I have it with the Wave software. I think the Elgato Wave software, it's annoying because of all the different inputs that it shows up in all of your sources like OBS or Discord or everything. But the actual functionality of it's amazing. You don't hear any hissing, you don't hear any static, you don't hear any like buzzing or anything from the gain because the gain is very clean. It can run the SM7B. I've got it with the MV7 right now. This is the blue Sona. This is another microphone that I actually don't have. This is, so Logitech, man, the marketing on this was not quite on point. I think the price that it came out for at this original launch price of $350 was just way too much. But this is on sale for basically $100 off right now. Actually, well, yeah, $100 off, but it's only 29% off. It's just shows how much this costs. I don't think that this really made that much sense to release it when the SM7B exists for that much money. I've heard this microphone. It doesn't sound ridiculous. It doesn't sound incredible. It's not like, wow, I need to buy this thing, but it's a good microphone. This is the Logitech Yeti GX. I like this microphone. It's another one of those microphones that I'm like, you know what? Look, for this much money, I don't know if I necessarily need this microphone specifically. I don't know if I need this more than, for example, the Samson Q2U. That's the microphone that I recommend. A lot of people get the Samson Q2 is excellent. But if you're specifically into Logitech, you're specifically into, well, I guess it's not blue anymore, but you want a successor to the Blue Yeti, this is what it is. It's a dynamic microphone. The software, the Logitech G Hub, it is in G Hub now, actually. It's Blue Voice, but you got to go in G Hub to get to it. Anyway, the point is, that software is amazing. It's fantastic. It's pretty buggy like the last time that I used it, but when I was able to get past the bugs, I was like, wow, this software is amazing for fine-tuning your microphone. But the price, I don't know, 17% off, maybe on the second day of Prime Day if it goes a little bit better on sale, but 17% off is not really, that's not crazy. So those are all the deals that I've got for you right now. I'll have links to everything that I talked about in the description. If I talked about something at length, I definitely have a review on my channel of that product. And if you don't already have an Amazon Prime membership, because you're going to need it to get a lot of these deals, again, link to a trial of that's going to be in the description. And let everyone know what kind of deals that you found on Prime Day in the comments.